In light of recent events, I've been playing lots of Sonic Unleashed lately, and have been routinely reminded of why I loved this game so much growing up. It is one of the best modern Sonic games, and I'm super grateful for the PC port. Something I've never understood was why this game was thoroughly panned at the time of its release. So I figured I'd look at some reviews from the past and see what they have to say, starting with this review from IGN.
There's one thing you should know about Sonic Unleashed before spending your hard-earned money on it. It's a big piece of garbage. Big piece of garbage. That should probably be enough to warn off anybody who's thinking about playing it, but I guess we should talk a little bit more about it.
Well, considering this game is an example of why I don't trust critics when they say a Sonic game is bad, your word unfortunately isn't enough. Let's proceed.
Indeed, it's games like this that make reviewers rethink their lives. Now, I have a theory when it comes to Sonic games. Someone at Sega hates the Hedgehog with all his might, and he's going about trying to sabotage the franchise with these awful games.
Really? Because it looks to me like these levels were designed with plenty of love and passion for the franchise, alongside the story that stays true to who Sonic is as a character. The boost gameplay style in this game set a standard for many titles to come, such as Sonic Colors, Sonic Generations, Sonic Forces, Sonic Frontiers, and Shadow Generations. If this game made active efforts to evolve the gameplay, then that sounds like the creation was out of passion rather than self-sabotage.
This is the only explanation that makes any sense to me. Pretty much every decision made for this game was the wrong one, and Sonic ends up taking more beating than a piñata because of it.
Pretty much every decision? Well, this game is cooked. If so, I'm hyped to see the reasons for this.
The gameplay in Sonic Unleashed is split up into 3 equal parts. There are daytime stages, which are actually very good.
Then how is pretty much every decision in this game a bad one?
There are nighttime stages, which are actually complete rubbish. And then there's also the hub city, where you do a lot of exploration stuff, and that's boring as can be. Now, the daytime stages are actually pretty fun. It's fast platforming that is mostly on rails, and for a brief moment you might actually think to yourself, wow, this is what a current-gen Sonic game should be.
So half of the game design was built on good decision-making, even though you're trying to tell us that they pretty much made every wrong choice in making this game.
Of course, your hopes will be brutally dashed later on, but never mind that for now. The daytime sections aren't perfect by any means. The jump button can be fatally unresponsive at times, and it's just a lot of trial and error gameplay that can get a little bit repetitive after a while.
When I'm applying trial and error while playing a Sonic game, I tend not to jump over a dash pad when it's in front of what appears to be a bottomless pit. I also have no clue what he means when he says that the jump button is fatally unresponsive at times. Barely any examples are shown outside of him jumping into a pit because he ignored a dash pad.
You know, if the game was just 3 hours and only contained these daytime sections, it wouldn't be such a bad thing, and actually, it'd be a pretty good game. You know, I can even overlook the stupid airplane part that they stuck in, which is a rail shooter where you don't actually really get to shoot guns.
You're shooting guns in the clip you showed. You just need to be careful about it instead of just spamming the same buttons to go guns blazing. I don't see the problem with the short minigame that exercises a skill set that you're supposed to get used to for the other stages anyway, as they get progressively harder.
But see, the problem is the sun goes down. And what happens when the sun goes down? Well, of course, Sonic turns into a werewolf. Oh, excuse me, werehog, if you want to use the official terminology. Now, the reasons why he does this as well, it's not really worth getting into.
Seeing that it's a review of the game, I think it's best to be as descriptive as possible if we're to spot any problems.
However, you should know that the game changes completely. Gone is the speed of Sonic, replaced by a bunch of boring, brawling sections.
Yeah, it's a different gameplay style. Not every gameplay style is going to be speed-based, and this game was very upfront with you about this. The focus is more so on combat and a different style of platforming. When you tell me this is bad game design, I want to hear about the content itself and not the fact that it's different from speed stages.
The frame rate's bad, the camera's bad, and the fighting stuff is just tedious and terrible.
Okay, but why? What's so bad about the combat that makes it tedious and terrible? Is it too repetitive and limiting to the player? Are the enemy types too easy or lacking in variety? What is it that makes it so terrible? To touch upon why I think it's good, the combat system is engaging because you're given continuous incentives to build upon your skills. It establishes an overarching goal for the player as the levels increase in difficulty and density. If you don't upgrade your skills, you're more and more likely to lose and play less efficiently. You're forced to constantly adapt and improve, and that's good for building engagement and avoiding repetition. The more you improve your skills, the more access you have to various different combos. It provides you with more player choice in every encounter, which is a neat reward for engaging with the combat system. What also helps in this regard is that you have 2 different attack buttons that serve different purposes, one of which is for more close-range attacks with lighter impact, while the other hits harder and at longer ranges. And of course, you can add on to these combos through some of your movements, whether it would be sprinting around or jumping in the air to perform aerial attacks. There are so many different combos that you can honestly just test them around yourself and experiment with what fits your preferred style of combat. The game gives you the freedom to do this, and that's great for designing an experience for the player, but let's hear more about why this game is so bad.
As a werehog, you go around beating the crap out of stuff and performing a bunch of really bad platforming sections.
Pretty reductive and unhelpful feedback. I've talked about the combat, so I want to ask about the platforming. What's so bad about it? We're given various different obstacles, and because of the maneuverability of the werehog, you can overcome said obstacles in various different ways. Oftentimes, you're given different ways of traversing the same obstacles within the platforming. And depending on how you traverse them, you can arrive at different paths that can reward you with items or shortcuts. While the platforming is not fast-paced like it is during the day stages, it still provides a diverse set of obstacles for you to counter in different ways.
Oh yeah, and you have stretchy arms, cause, everybody knows that werewolves have stretchy arms.
Well, everybody knows that werewolves aren't real to begin with.
Even worse is that these stages drag on for like a half hour each.
If you're inefficient and fail to properly engage with the game, then yes, I can imagine each and every stage taking you 30 minutes. The same can happen with the day stages if you decide not to engage with the game properly. Any stage can be drawn out as a result of this. Now in fairness, yes, the werehog stages do take longer, but if all of them are taking you 30 minutes, then I don't think the problem is the game, and it more so falls on your engagement. The only way to convince me otherwise would be to highlight some problems you ran into during your gameplay experience, but when you don't elaborate on that in any detail, what is there to work with?
There's no excuse to extend the pain this much, especially since the fun daytime levels only last 4 or 5 minutes.
You're being really generous here, because you can still successfully achieve S ranks in 4 to 5 minutes on day stages. If you have similar success within the nighttime stages, you're often going to take much fewer than 30 minutes. You can even get these done in 10 minutes or fewer. It honestly depends on how you play the game, and if you want to skip out on the combat sections, you have that option if you want to speed your way through and platform.
Sonic the Werehog makes Big the Cat look like an endearing character. Yeah, it's that bad.
Big the Cat has repetitive fishing stages where you do the same maneuvers every time. It's also not even as involved as the werehog combat is. You're just baiting the fish to grab the hook. That gameplay had far less depth than the werehog did, so I'm lost by this comparison.
Even if there were just those two kinds of levels, this game wouldn't be that bad. Sure, you'd have to endure the horrible nighttime levels, but you'd always know that the daytime was coming soon enough and you'd get to enjoy those. However, Team Sonic didn't want to let any slip-ups happen. They had to make this game bad. So how do you make it worse? Well, first, you add completely unnecessary RPG elements,
which gives the player incentive to adapt and improve over time as tougher and more complicated enemy types appear in later levels. Like I said earlier, building upon your skills creates an overarching goal for the player, which incentivizes more engagement with the level design and the combat system.
You gain XP for every bad guy you kill, and then you can spend this XP to increase things like Sonic's speed or your werehog's moveset. It's not so terrible, but it does seem unnecessary. I mean, really, do I need to pay to upgrade Sonic's speed? Shouldn't Sonic be as fast as he can be from the get-go?
What's wrong with earning your upgrades as opposed to unlocking everything immediately?
Isn't that the reason why I bought a Sonic game in the first place?
You still move fast before getting the upgrades. You just get to move faster and store more boost energy as you upgrade yourself.
But that's not all. I've saved the best for last. Convinced that Sonic fans don't just want to run really fast and have fun, there are hub worlds. These terrible, terrible hub worlds are where you aimlessly walk around, talk to people for no reason, and collect coins to get to the next level.
These talking sections take up such a small percentage of the game. For the most part, you don't even need to engage with anyone if you're not interested in it. However, you as the player have the choice to do so, especially since this can open up minigames for you to play. I don't see how this takes away from the game. This adds life to the hub worlds and you can get some fun conversations out of it. If I'm playing a game where I'm traveling around the world, I expect there to be some life added to it.
Oh, and you can cleanse people's souls by taking pictures of them. I'm not even joking about that.
Is that it? Is that all there is to say?
These hubs are a giant waste of time that only serve to annoy the player. And once again, it's just more gameplay that's keeping you away from the one part of Sonic that's fun, and that's the daytime levels.
If you don't want to talk to anyone, then just avoid them and only engage if the game requires you to, which I believe is only for a couple of moments in the game.
Sonic Unleashed is a classic example of what happens when a good idea isn't left alone. There's just too much fussing that's been done to this once good formula.
So when was the formula good? Because it sounds to me like he's saying the formula is only good if it remains focused on just the speed stages for Sonic. Yet in Sonic Adventure, you have multiple different levels for multiple different characters, many of which arguably have less depth in their gameplay styles compared to the Werehog. I can say the same thing about the hunting stages and the mech stages in Sonic Adventure 2. Sonic 06 doesn't require any elaboration. I guess the only other games I can think of that focus on isolated stages with Sonic are the classic games, but those stages are clearly different from Unleashed and are strictly 2D. So the formula is still radically different, and the most comparable would be the 3D games.
It's kind of like having a group of 5-year-olds come up with ideas after giving them a bowl full of sugar. Sure, there are fun parts buried inside, but don't subject yourself to the pain. But the best thing I can say about Sonic Unleashed is that it does at least make the old Sonic the Hedgehog games look a whole lot better.
In what way?
For the full written review, head on over to IGN.com.
Okay, let's see if we get any elaboration on there.
By day, Sonic is all about speed and some light platforming elements. By night, the speed is sucked away and Sonic becomes nothing but a mindless brawler. The Werehog is forced to smack around the same repetitive cadre of villains, across levels that last upwards of 30 torturous minutes. Mixed into this are numerous bad platforming sections. Here's a tip: if you are going to have platforming in a game where one missed jump means instant death, then make sure you have some sort of proper shadowing that indicates where your character is going to land. That's basic platforming 101. You have to know where the hell your airborne character is in relation to the ground.
I don't see how the enemies are repetitive. The most common enemy types seem to be the humanoid Dark Gaia monsters that often block your hits, and the Eggman robots. Though, you're also met with smaller enemy types that you can pick up and throw. You also get met with Dark Gaia flowers that can shoot projectiles. Some of these Eggman robots can fire projectiles at you, which makes it really hard for you to even move around. Some of them have blades or shields or both on them to make it harder for you to directly attack them. And of course we have the giant creatures throughout these levels. I'm not seeing how the enemy types are repetitive. As far as proper shadowing to indicate where your character is going to land, we literally do get that in the game. They straight up give us a shadow to reference while platforming in the game. Did you play it?
Adding to the muddled nighttime design is the bizarre power the Werehog has gained. He can stretch his arms like Mr. Fantastic. Why? Great question. It doesn't really matter the answer. There isn't any that wouldn't encourage your brain to separate from your skull. All that matters is that it's a dumb gimmick that more or less throws egg on the face of longtime Sonic fans.
Well, I suppose the stretchy arms were created to add a new dimension to the platforming that we wouldn't use for speed stages. You couldn't even reach certain areas of the hub worlds as daytime Sonic because none of your abilities allow you to traverse these paths the same way you can with the stretchy Werehog arms. It literally adds variety to the platforming instead of leaving the player more restricted in movement. How is this a bad thing? That pretty much covers everything I didn't hear in the video, and to be quite honest, this doesn't do much to substantiate any of the points in the video. At least there is some attempt to elaborate on what issues may arise, but the examples themselves don't accurately reflect what's in the game. For years, I've wondered why this game has gotten such a bad reception at the time of its release, and to this day I can't wrap my head around it. And it seems like a lot of Sonic fans share this sentiment, which shows in many of the responses to the PC port of Sonic Unleashed. Well, for any Sonic fans watching, you know how we could avoid such slander of great Sonic content in the future? Well, just do what we did when Matt Walsh released his review of Sonic 3. Listen, reflect, and hit people with the truth. Don't harass anyone, of course, but challenge what's being said and encourage everyone else to do the same. If we had this energy back when Sonic Unleashed first came out, we probably would have saved the reputation of this game without it being tainted for other people. Just something to think about.